What is the most expensive sneaker in my entire sneaker collection? Let's find out. So I've been collecting sneakers for decades, and because of that, I've amassed a sneaker collection worth just over $100,000. But in all the years that I've been collecting sneakers, I've never really tallied up the most expensive sneakers in my collection. One, because I just didn't really feel the need to do that because I wear all the sneakers in my collection, or just about all of them, like 99% of them, and I just didn't feel like that was the most important part. But honestly, over the last couple weeks, I've just been interested, mainly because I bought a crazy expensive pair of sneakers, and I was wondering, is that the most expensive pair of sneakers in my collection, or are some other pairs the most expensive pairs? So in today's video, I'm gonna find out by counting down the top 10 most expensive sneakers in my entire sneaker collection. So if you've been watching my channel by now, you've heard me talk about the Unboxed app, and the reason I talk about it so much is one, because I'm an investor and I want the app to do well, and two, because I genuinely use this app all the time. So the Unboxed app provides a great way of cataloging your entire sneaker collection, which especially becomes important when you have hundreds of pairs of sneakers. And even if you're not like me, a sneaker hoarder, and you just have a couple pairs of sneakers, it's still really great to have all of your sneakers in the Unboxed app so you can track their prices, you can see what they all look like together, which you might not think is that big of a deal, but when you actually see all your shoes together, it's pretty cool. But the main thing that I really love about this app that they actually just rolled out is that now you can actually insure all of your sneakers through a partner that Unboxed works with. So I've always had renter's insurance and now homeowner's insurance, and I always thought that those insurance policies covered your sneakers, and in some ways they do, but they don't cover them in the way that us sneakerheads need them to cover our sneakers. Unboxed provides the best insurance that you can get for your entire sneaker collection, and what's great is that once you catalog all of your sneakers in the app, they tell you how much your entire sneaker collection is worth, and then you can get insurance up to that amount. So for example, my sneaker collection is worth, you know what, actually, wait till the end of the video for me to tell you, that's gonna be a surprise. But regardless, I can insure my entire sneaker collection so that if I'm traveling with a pair of Dior Air Jordan 1s like I was last weekend when I was coming back from Canada, or maybe I was wearing my Chicago Air Jordan 1s and I got like, I don't know, ketchup all over them, my sneakers are insured so that if there's any damage or loss or theft or something like that, I'm totally covered and I can get my money back. Obviously, before you actually insure your sneaker collection, you do want to read all the fine print to make sure that this insurance policy works for you, but it's something that I definitely recommend, and it's something that I use myself. And also something that's been super helpful to me is that Unboxed offers authentication, so you can authenticate your sneakers through the app, which means, for example, if you're buying an $8,000 pair of shoes, you can actually authenticate them before you buy them to make sure that you're not making an $8,000 mistake. But like I said, the Unboxed app is awesome, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an investor in the app. I genuinely like the app, and if you guys want to check out the app for yourself, make sure to click the link in the description below. But with all of that said, let's first take a look at the honorable mentions, the shoes that are still pretty expensive but didn't make it into the top 10 most expensive sneakers in my collection. And maybe they will one day. I don't know how the sneaker market fluctuates. It's always changing. You never know what shoes are worth more than others. So right now, in June 2022, this is the top 10 most expensive sneakers in my collection, and these are the honorable mentions. So I decided to go with two honorable mentions because they're both worth the same, at least in this condition, which I believe is around $1,700. We've got the Travis Scott Air Jordan 1s, the OG colorway, and the Union LA Air Jordan 1s in the Storm Blue colorway. So if you guys know me, you know I'm a huge Air Jordan 1 fan, and these are some of the craziest Air Jordan 1s you could get in like 2018. I honestly love both of these sneakers. They're both absolutely fire. The Union LA Air Jordan 1s are special to me, one, because I proposed in these sneakers, and there's actually a whole Reddit thread about me creasing these shoes, which, to be fair, they are creased because of that, but regardless, still an insane pair of sneakers. You're supposed to crease your sneakers. It's an awesome pair of shoes. I love the bright blue, I love the bright red, and while I don't think I like colorway-wise this shoe as much as the black toes, I still think it's an awesome sneaker. It's got a lot of history, at least personal history, and it's a shoe that I plan to hold on to forever. The other shoe, and probably the slightly more popular shoe, is the Travis Scott Air Jordan 1s. I grabbed this shoe from StockX back when people thought that StockX was selling a bunch of fake Travis Scott Air Jordan 1s. I've had them re-legit checked since, so I'm confident that these are legit. But it's a pair of shoes that I've only worn a couple times just because I actually don't know why. I haven't worn this shoe that much. I have worn it, but it's not something I throw on a regular basis. It's just a great looking sneaker. I love the backwards Nike swoosh. Obviously, that's just a huge thing now with Travis Scott. I'm not like the biggest Travis Scott fan, but I do like this sneaker a lot. I really love some of the changes that he made to this shoe. And also, at the time of the shoe releasing, there wasn't a lot of brown Air Jordan 1s. Now we've got the dark mochas and we've got some other colorways, but we didn't have anything in this sort of like shade of brown and sale. So this was sort of a new Air Jordan 1 in a lot of ways, not just the backwards Nike swoosh, but also in the colorway. And it was a cool experimentation, and one that really took off and people are obsessed with. So definitely a huge fan of both of these sneakers. I think I actually paid resale for both of them. Obviously the resale prices are higher now, but still paid probably more than I should have, but glad to have these in my collection. At number 10 are the 2015 Chicago Air Jordan 1s. So it's no surprise that the next shoe on the list is an Air Jordan 1, and I'm not gonna lie, there are a lot of Air Jordan 1s on this list, But with that being said, this is the original Air Jordan 1. This is the classic, the Chicago's, and the 2015 release was the last OG release of this shoe, which is crazy to think about, especially because there was one that dropped in 2013. We've had a lot of these, just not recently, and hopefully at the end of this year we'll get something similar. It's probably not gonna be the case, but I'm still hoping for it. But in the meantime, I'm really happy to have these shoes, and I actually grabbed these for an insane price. I think I grabbed these for like 300 bucks. They were around $300 for like 2 or 3 years after they released, and then the prices just skyrocketed, especially in 2020 when the Last Dance documentary came out. It was insane. I think these are honestly wildly overpriced, but that's just the case for most of the shoes on this list. But obviously, an incredible looking sneaker. It's got a ton of history behind it, a shoe that I absolutely love, and right now in this condition, worn but not worn too much, a little bit of heel drag, a little bit of star loss, and obviously some creasing. This shoe goes for around 1,800 bucks. Number 9, the Off-White Air Jordan 1 UNC. So up until recently, this is the shoe that I paid by far the most for out of any sneaker in my collection. I think I grabbed this shoe for $1,800, which is just under what they go for right now, and it's a shoe that I haven't worn that much, maybe 5 or 6 times. So I'm not saying that I regret it, but I am saying I definitely overpaid. So as you guys probably know, I'm a big fan of the late Virgil Abloh, and a lot of the stuff that he did with Nike and Off-White, I think it was pretty incredible. And this is probably one of my favorite Off-White Jordans or Nikes of all time. This is definitely a second to another shoe that's coming up later on in the list. But what I really love about this Off-White Air Jordan 1 are some of the changes that he made to this shoe from some of the previous Off-White Air Jordan 1s. You've got this new plastic ripstop mesh on the midfoot and on the toe of the sneaker. The leather is slightly different. Colorway that he used on this shoe, this UNC inspired colorway, is very clean. I love the UNC Air Jordan 1s. I've never owned a pair, but it's definitely a shoe that I'd love to have in my collection. Hopefully they'll retro it one of these days soon. But this is an awesome sneaker. I love it with orange laces. I really should wear this shoe more. It's just not the most comfortable sneaker in my collection. I guess none of my Air Jordan 1s are really that comfortable, but it's a shoe that I definitely need to throw on more often, especially because of how much I paid for this stupid shoe. And in this condition, which is very lightly worn, I would say that this sneaker is worth right around $2,000. At number 8 is the Supreme Nike SB Dunk Low Red Cement. So this shoe is one of those grails that I never thought I would have in my collection. This shoe first released back in 2012. It's one of the most hyped up Supreme collaborations of all time when it comes to sneakers, and this is just one of those iconic Nike SB Dunk colorways. And when I saw this shoe at SneakerCon DC, I got it for such an incredible price. I think it was like 720 bucks or maybe 750. I had to grab it. So this shoe is absolutely filled with history. If you're a Supreme fan or a Supreme collector and you have a bunch of Supreme stuff in your collection, this shoe is probably one of the things in your collection if you were able to grab a pair. It was very limited. And out of all the Supreme Nike SB Dunk Lows from the Cement collection, this one's my favorite. It might not be the most expensive, it might not be the rarest, but I love the red on this shoe. The only downside about this sneaker is that the leather, because it's older Nike SB Dunk leather, which was much stiffer than it is today, is incredibly painful to wear. Like, this crease just digs into the top of my foot. It sucks. But I deal with it because it's such a fire sneaker. It's a great sneaker all around. I've worn it a couple of times. Haven't worn it that much again because it just kills me in the toes. But it's one of those shoes that I'm really happy to have in my collection. And as of right now, in this condition, I'd say worn about 5 times. This shoe is probably worth around $2,000. At number 7 is the Joe Freshgoods New Balance 992 Anatomy of a Heart. So this shoe was absolutely a surprise to me. I had no idea this shoe was worth as much as it's worth. I got this shoe actually as a gift from New Balance back when the sneaker first released for All-Star Weekend 2020, and I just fell in love with it. This is one of the cleanest New Balance 992s I've ever seen, and back in 2020, this was my favorite collaboration of the year. New Balance has been around forever, but they're a brand that's on the up and up. They're a brand that's collaborating with these amazing artists and designers who have created some of the best collabs of the last decade. I'm being serious about that. I think some of the ALD collabs, some of the Joe Freshgood collabs, and definitely some of the Salehi Bembury collaborations are some of the best collaborations out. And so it does make sense that one of these collaborations is one of the most expensive sneakers in my collection. This shoe features incredibly premium feeling suedes on the upper. You've got this really nice padded mesh. It came with 3 different sets of laces, I think a red, maybe a pink, and then this blue lace. I had to switch out to the blue laces because I felt like they really made this upper pop like crazy. And of course, it's a 992, so it's incredibly comfortable. The upper is just so well padded. But personally, my favorite thing about this shoe is how much this shoe actually looks like the anatomy of a heart. It's crazy. Usually when you have a theme or a concept behind a sneaker collaboration, you either go way too literal with it and just print whatever it is on the upper of the shoe, or you go way too abstract and you have no idea what the sneaker is supposed to be. But in this case, this literally looks like the inside of a heart. You've got all your little ventricles and pumps and parts and things. I don't know what's inside a heart. I didn't do well in school. It's just a great looking sneaker and it looks like a heart, and I love that about it. And I think Joe Freshgoods is an insane collaborator. Shout out to Joe Freshgoods for dropping consistent fire, and he continues to this day. And this is also one of my most worn sneakers on this list, and probably one of my most worn sneakers in my collection. It's just a great shoe, and I hope I can keep it forever. If I have to stop wearing it in like 5 years so that it doesn't fall apart, I will. But until then, I'm gonna rock the hell out of it. And based on its current condition, if I were to clean it up, and it's actually in better condition than I would have expected, it should be worth around $2 grand. And number 6 is the off-white Nike Air Presto, the 10. So this is probably my most worn pair of off-white sneakers of any kind. The tread is completely worn off the shoe. I mean, the laces are even missing some of the lettering on their shoelaces because I've worn it down so much. There's dirt in this sneaker that I can't get out because of how like ingrained into the shoe it is. Probably shouldn't be holding it, it's pretty gross. But honestly, one of my favorite sneakers in my collection, not only because of what it is and the collaboration that it is, but how good it looks and how comfortable it is. After the off-white Air Jordan 1s, this is by far my favorite off-white Nike collaboration shoe. All of the deconstructed details on this shoe, the muslin used on the upper, the tongue that's kind of stitched onto the regular tongue, this like huge padded tongue that looks like it was taken off of a blazer, this Nike swoosh that comes in this sort of semi-translucent plastic that lets you see the glue yellowing underneath, as well as this nice little orange hit and this little tab. It's just an awesome shoe, and I really can't get over how comfortable this shoe is. Genuinely the most comfortable, expensive sneaker that I have in my entire collection. This shoe is a pleasure to wear. I absolutely love it. And currently in this condition, which is pretty well worn, it's actually still worth about $2,100. And a very fitting number 5 is the Air Jordan 5 Tokyo. So the story behind how I got this shoe is kind of nuts. I actually got this shoe for free. But the way that it all went down is I was going to ComplexCon a couple years back with Hess Kicks, who you guys have probably seen on Sneaker YouTube, and there was a booth that was having raffles for crazy pairs of sneakers. And what would happen is that if you won the raffle, or if your raffle number was picked, you actually got a chance to go wait in line and pick one of the sneakers off the wall. The only downside is that you'd have to pay taxes on the sneaker because technically they were giving you a gift and you'd have to pay taxes on the amount of money of that gift or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how it all works, but I had to pay like $200 in taxes, or maybe $300. I don't remember exactly what the number was. And essentially what happened was my raffle number was picked. I think I was like 4th in line. The 2 people in between the first person and myself didn't end up showing up, so I got to go second. The person before me picked some dumb Pharrell. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't worth anywhere close to this shoe. It's also nowhere near as cool as this shoe. And then I saw the shoe still on the wall, so I was able to grab this shoe. The only catch was that I had to wear it out, which is no problem because this is a sneaker that I'm happy to rock, especially for free. But this is a shoe, just like a lot of the other shoes on this list, that I never thought that I would have in my collection. This shoe released back in, I believe, 2011 for the Jordan brand store opening in Tokyo. It was only sold exclusively through that store, and it was incredibly limited. And so this shoe quickly became a grail for a lot of people, including myself. And in a little detail that some of you guys might not know that actually Hess Kicks pointed out to me, this little accent right here on the heel is actually an inverted 23. I didn't realize what that was until he told me, and now I just can't unsee it. And at the time of recording this video, in this condition, which is worn maybe once or twice with a little bit of discoloration on the netting and then on the upper of the shoe, this shoe is worth around $2,700. At number 4, the Nike Air Yeezy 2 in Solar Red. So realistically, this shoe should probably be higher on the list, and the reason that it's not is because I'm valuing all these sneakers in their current condition. And in its current condition, which is pretty heavily worn and without a box, this shoe is probably worth around $2,800 to $3,000. But with that being said, this is a sneaker that I'm so happy to have, and I'm actually glad that it is already worn because now I can wear this sneaker without being afraid that it's going to crumble underneath my feet because that foam in the midsole has already been pretty heavily compressed. So the way that I grabbed this shoe was through my $20 sneaker collection series, which essentially was a series where I took a $20 bill, went to a thrift store, and slowly bought and traded my way up to a pair of crazy sneakers, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the list. But through that series, I was actually able to grab this pair of shoes, a pair of shoes that has long since been a grail of mine, and a pair of shoes that I really never thought that I was going to have. Told you I'd say that a bunch throughout this video, but this shoe is absolutely fire. It comes in this beautiful black upper. Out of all the colorways that dropped of the Nike Air Yeezy 2s, I think this is my favorite. The plaits being my second favorite, and the Red Octobers being my least favorite. The bright pink sock liner, the strap, you've also got the spikes on the back of the shoe, which have long since become iconic. And again, I'm glad that it's worn because I don't feel bad wearing it. I'm not worried about the shoe crumbling underneath me, at least not that worried. But it's a shoe that I'm very happy to have in my collection, and one that I actually got for a pretty good deal. I think I traded a pair of Cause Air Jordan 4s and like $1,200. So not the cheapest shoe in the world, at least for me to get, but one that I will definitely rock for a long time. And maybe if someone offers me the right price, maybe I'll flip. I don't know. And again, I think on the high end in this condition, I could probably get between $2,800 to $3,000 for this shoe. At number 3 is the Nike Air Yeezy 1 Zen. So this shoe is crazy. This is actually Kanye West's first signature shoe with Nike. It came out in 2009, and because these shoes are DS and unworn, there is a pretty high risk of these shoes crumbling as soon as I throw these on feet. So I will not be wearing these. I am trying to sell these, but it's a shoe that I was happy to have in my collection for the couple years that I had it in my collection. As a pretty big fan of Kanye West, it's been really cool to have this sneaker. I have to say that when I first got this in hand, I was very surprised by the quality of the leather. And I mean, the leather used on the toe and the suede used on the mudguard, as well as the leather used around the heel of the shoe, is really, really high quality and super, super soft. I mean, this genuinely feels like a high-end designer shoe, but I think it only retailed for like $250 when it first dropped. And obviously in 2009, fashion was different, sneaker fashion was different, and this shoe is definitely from a different era. This is definitely a 2009 style sneaker and not a 2022 sneaker, but it is really cool to have had this shoe and be able to experience the history of the Nike Air Yeezy in person. It was really cool seeing the outsole of this shoe glow on my shelf every night as I left the studio. Just been a really great sneaker to have. I'm really sad to be letting it go, but I think it needs to be done. I can't wear this shoe. It's gonna crumble if I wear it, and I'd rather put the money into index funds or something like that where I can make even more money than hold on to a pair of shoes that probably won't last that much longer. So this shoe has been pretty hard to value because there's not really any DS pairs of this shoe available, at least none that are reasonably priced. I think the lowest ask that I saw for this shoe anywhere was my ask, first of all, but after that was like $8,500, and that was either GOAT or StockX. I don't remember exactly where, but I think realistically this shoe would sell relatively quickly, around $4,500. So that's how I'm valuing it, $4,500 for a brand new pair of Nike Air Yeezy 1 Zens. In my opinion, the best colorway of the Nike Air Yeezy 1s. And number 2 is the Off-White Air Jordan 1 Chicago. So this shoe is probably the most important shoe in my collection. And again, if you guys have been watching my channel, you've heard me talk about this shoe a million times, but it's because I actually had a chance to sit down with Virgil Abloh, talk to him about design, and he signed my pair, which is super cool. This shoe is important to me because of that experience, because of getting a chance to actually talk to Virgil Abloh before he passed, and also just being my favorite silhouette, the Air Jordan 1, and being a really great, probably the best Air Jordan 1 collaboration in my opinion. It's just a shoe that will absolutely never leave my collection, so I keep it in the case right back there as just a memory and a reminder of the whole experience, and this really is the most treasured sneaker in my entire collection. I will never ever get rid of this shoe. But as far as pricing goes, I know I just said that I would never get rid of this sneaker, but the whole point of the video is the top 10 most expensive sneakers in my collection, so I had to price this shoe. Because this shoe is signed, I don't think you can put a real value on it, so I guess to be fair to all the other sneakers on the list, I'm going to value this as if it was just a standard pair without the signature. Brand new, a size 8.5, which is what this is. I couldn't get a size 9 unfortunately at the event. The size 9s were sold out. This shoe is worth around $7,700 on the low end, possibly around $8,000, but again, a shoe that I'm never getting rid of, and because it's signed, it is technically priceless, but if I had to go with a price for this shoe without the signature, around $8,000. And then finally, at number 1 are the Dior Air Jordan 1s. So this actually is one of my most recent pickups. I just grabbed this shoe to finish off the $20 sneaker collection. Now this shoe is another shoe that I really never thought that I would have because the resale price of this shoe is so ridiculous. In fact, the retail price of this shoe was $2,000, but because the money that I used to buy this shoe all came from one $20 bill and like a year's worth of work, I felt like this would be a great way to end the series because of how cool this sneaker is, because of how much I like this shoe, and because of how crazy it is. This is a shoe that I'd never buy with my own money. So obviously the Dior Air Jordan 1s are as expensive as they are because they're a collaboration between Dior, a high-end fashion brand, and Jordan Brand, a sportswear brand. But even though this shoe is honestly a pretty subtle and pretty simple looking shoe, I mean it's gray and white leather with a Dior logo on the Nike swoosh and an icy outsole, the thing that really makes this shoe special is the leather quality of this shoe. This shoe was actually handmade. There's only 8,500 pairs, which is absolutely insane. And even though this is such a simple and subtle design, I mean it's literally just white and gray leather with a little bit of accenting with a Dior Nike swoosh and also actually an icy outsole. The thing that really makes this shoe special is the leather quality of this shoe. This shoe is handmade. There's only 8,500 pairs of them, and the leather is genuinely the nicest leather that I've ever seen on any pair of shoes other than maybe some dress shoes. Like, this leather quality is absolutely insane. And yes, this leather is hard. That's how expensive leather feels. It's very thick, it's got this incredible grain to it, and it's usually very stiff until you wear it in. And it almost hurts me to hold this shoe because of how expensive it is and how much I paid. I paid $7,500 for this sneaker. That's a little bit less than what it goes for, but geez, that's a lot. And the good news about this shoe is that I was able to authenticate it through the Unboxed app and also ensure shirt through the Unboxed app. And again, if you guys want to check out Unboxed, there's a link in the top of the description below. So I wasn't worried about traveling with this shoe. As expensive as it was, if the suitcase got lost or broken or something happened to it and this shoe was damaged, I would have been totally covered. So as much as it would have actually hurt my soul for that to happen, I would have been monetarily covered, which is a good thing. But yeah, this is it. This is the most expensive pair of sneakers in my collection. Again, the Off-White Air Jordan 1s could be number one, but I just don't think you can value them with such a personal signature on them. Like, I couldn't sell them to anybody else because they say Air Fowler, and that might actually hurt the monetary value of them. So if we're going off purely conditional price, again, this shoe is brand new, this shoe would be by far the most expensive. And the current value of a DS brand new pair of Dior Air Jordan 1s is around $9,100, which in my opinion is too much to pay for a pair of sneakers, but there you go. The most expensive sneaker in my entire collection. But that pretty much wraps up the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the top 10 most expensive sneakers in my entire collection. And actually, before I forget, let me check the Unboxed app to find out what the total value of my entire sneaker collection is. So as of right now, the beginning of June 2022, the estimated value of my total sneaker collection is $100,940. That's crazy. That's a scary number. Thank God I have insurance on it. But as always, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.